During the corporate party, my wife was summoned by her boss, and moments later, I heard her moans echoing from the bathroom. Beamy, 31 years old, living in San Diego, moved here after college, working as a software architect at a big tech company, married to Lily for 10 years. Life seems perfect from the outside. Until that Wednesday night, my best friend Robert just got promoted to director at his company, decides to throw this massive party at his house. Robert is that guy everyone loves, always the center of attention. Can make any room light up just by walking in. Party is absolutely packed. People everywhere, inside and out. Living room turned into some makeshift dance floor. Kitchen became party central for shots and toasts. Really didn't want to go. Work had been brutal lately. Plus Lily had been acting weird. Not distant, but weirdly affectionate. Something felt off about it, like she was trying too hard. She kept bringing me coffee, sending cute messages all day, smiling way too much when I got home. Deep down knew something wasn't right. Kept ignoring that sinking feeling. Maybe she was compensating for something. Or maybe I was just being paranoid. Lily insisted we go to the party. It'll be fun, she said. You've been so stressed lately. We both need this. Kept talking about all these interesting people. Robert's wife Hannah had invited. Looking back now, I see it differently. But at the time, thought she was genuinely trying to cheer me up. When we arrived at the party, Lily was wearing this tight blue dress. Hadn't seen it in years. Everyone's heads turning as she walked by. Felt proud for a moment. We stuck together at first, chatting with friends, laughing at Robert's over-the-top jokes. Everything felt normal. For a little while at least, then she slipped away from me. Going to find Hannah, she said. Gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. Nodded and stayed behind. Assumed she'd be back soon. She wasn't. As night went on, kept seeing her across the room. More often than near me, talking to people I didn't know. Her laughter louder than usual. Something felt wrong. Stomach twisted when I saw her. Leaning close to some tall guy in leather jacket. Nothing obviously wrong. Nothing I could point to. But enough to set me on edge. Told myself I was imagining things. Just being tired and paranoid. Around midnight, had enough. Music was too loud. Air too stuffy. Tired of pretending to enjoy myself. Went looking for Lily. Wanted to tell her I was leaving. She could find her own ride if she wanted to stay. That's when I heard it. Muffled sound coming from down the hallway. First thought it was just drunk people. Or maybe someone arguing. Something made me stop, though. Completely frozen when I recognized the voice. It was Lily's, her tone soft and breathy. Unmistakable. Then heard another voice, low and teasing. Belonged to Andrew, one of Robert's friends, the type who acts irresistible to women. Always with that cocky grin, that easy charm. Always flirted with Lily at gatherings. Never took him seriously before. Should've, couldn't stop myself. Walked toward the slightly open door, heart pounding in my chest. What I saw will haunt me forever. Lily pressed against the wall, hair all messed up, dress pushed up her thighs, Andrew's hands all over her. The look on her face wasn't reluctance, was pure pleasure. Party music drowned out. Sound of door creaking open. Neither of them noticed me at first. Stood there frozen, fists clenched, vision tunneling. Finally, Andrew looked up, his smirk fading to shock. Lily turned her head. Eyes went wide when she saw me. Adam, she gasped, like she couldn't believe I was there. Didn't say a word. Throat felt full of broken glass. Mind spinning too fast to think. Andrew backed away, muttering something about not knowing I'd be there. Like that made it better. Brushed past me and bolted. Left Lily standing there, face pale, eyes wide and pleading. Adam, please, she started, stepping toward me. Raised my hand to stop her. Don't, I said, voice shaking with rage. Don't say a word. Deafening silence between us. Only distant thrum of music. And party laughter in background. Lily's lip quivering, trying to find right words. It's not what it looks like, she whispered. Laughed bitterly at that. Isn't it? Gestured toward the room she'd been in. Because from where I'm standing, it's exactly what it looks like. Lily reached for my arm, pulled away from her instantly. Please, Adam, she said again, voice cracking like glass. Let's talk about this somewhere else. Not here. Talk? I snapped. You think I want to talk to you right now? After this, people in hallway started noticing. Eyes darting between us. Murmurs rising. Could feel the tension getting thick. Hannah appeared at edge of crowd, her face changing from confusion to concern. Lily's eyes darting everywhere, calculating her next move. Lower your voice, she hissed through clenched teeth. You're making a scene, barked out another humorless laugh. A scene? You're worried about a scene now? You weren't worried about it when you were... Stopped myself, chest heaving with rage. Forget it. I'm done. Turned on my heel. Walked away. Ignored Lily calling after me. Legs carried me straight to front door. Out onto Robert's front lawn. Finally stopped. Cold night air biting at my skin. Sank onto the curb, head in my hands, trying to make sense of everything. 10 years. 10 years of marriage. Gone in blink of an eye. And for what? No answer to that. Cold air barely cooled. Fire raging in my chest. Hands trembling as I sat there. Buried face in them. Trying to breathe. Trying to think. Image of Lily and Andrew burned into my mind. Every detail vivid. Unbearable to remember. Ears ringing. Heart pounding so hard. Felt like it might burst. Then heard voice behind me. "Hey, man," someone slurred. Looked up to see Andrew, swaggering out of house. Hadn't even bothered leaving through back door. Just waltzed out like nothing happened. His smirk still as smug as ever. "Listen, I didn't know you'd be here tonight. Lily didn't tell me, you know." Stood up slowly, cold seeping through my jeans. Straightened to full height, fists clenched at my sides, while Andrew kept talking, words drunken and careless. "Look, it's not even what you think." She came on to me. "I mean, who wouldn't, right? She's, well, you know, you're married to her." That was it. Something in me snapped. Stepped forward before I could stop myself. Swung hard. Fist connected with his jaw. Andrew stumbled backward. Fell hard onto lawn. Burst of satisfaction shot through me. But it was fleeting. Overtaken by seething rage, still churning in my gut. "What the hell, man?" Andrew spluttered, holding his jaw, scrambling to his feet. "Are you insane?" "Insane?" I spat, stepping closer, voice low and trembling with fury. "You think I'm insane because I won't let you disrespect my wife and marriage like that? You think you can just laugh this off and walk away?" Andrew held up his hands. "Palms out like that would stop me. Look, it wasn't personal, okay? She's the one who..." "Don't," I cut him off, voice like ice. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." People starting to gather now, drawn by the commotion. Robert's voice rang out over murmurs. "Adam, what the hell is going on?" Turned around, chest heaving. Saw Robert pushing through small crowd, his eyes darting between me and Andrew, who was now brushing grass off his clothes, still glaring at me. "What's going on?" I said, voice rising. "Ask your buddy here. Ask him why he thinks it's okay to screw another man's wife in the middle of your goddamn party." Crowd gasped. Tension became physical weight. Andrew started shaking his head. Face mix of anger and embarrassment. "Hey man, you're blowing this way out of proportion," he said. "You don't even..." Lunged at him again. But Robert grabbed my arm, holding me back. "Whoa, Adam, calm down." "Calm down!" I shouted, trying to shake him off. "You want me to calm down? After this piece of trash just..." "Adam," Robert cut me off, voice firm. "You're not thinking straight. Just stop. Everyone's watching." That's when I realized how many eyes were on me, how many phones were out recording. Chest heaving as I tried to catch breath. Tried to regain some control. Andrew was muttering something under his breath. Could feel Robert's grip tighten on my arm. "Let me go," I said, voice quieter now, but no less deadly. "This isn't over." "Just go, man," Robert said, his voice soft but tense. "We'll figure this out later. Just leave." Glanced around at the crowd. Their faces filled with curiosity, judgment, and pity. Every single one of them. A reminder that Lily's betrayal wasn't just private anymore. It was a spectacle now. With one last glare at Andrew, wrenched my arm out of Robert's grasp, turned toward the street. Didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay there, not for another second. Walked aimlessly, feet carrying me block after block, through quiet suburban streets. Cool night air did nothing to calm storm in my chest. Fist still throbbing from the punch, flexed my fingers, trying to shake off residual adrenaline. Satisfaction of hitting Andrew had been too brief, replaced by overwhelming mix of anger, betrayal, and despair. Eventually stopped at small park, sat on bench under street lamp, mind racing, replaying scene at party over and over. Lily's face caught in shock and guilt, Andrew's smug grin crumbling. When my fist met his jaw, the whispers of the crowd, judging, speculating. It was all too much. Phone buzzed in my pocket, dragging me back to reality. Hesitated before pulling it out. Already knew who it would be. Lily. There were 6 missed calls and string of texts, each more desperate than last. "Adam, please come home. We need to talk. I know you're angry, but this isn't what you think. Don't do this. Don't throw away everything we've built over one mistake. Please just answer me." "I can explain everything." Stared at screen, thumb hovering over reply button. What could she possibly say? To justify what I had seen? What excuse could undo the betrayal I felt down to my core? Shoved phone back in pocket. Ignored persistent buzzing. As she called again, sound of footsteps on gravel pulled my attention. Looked up to see Robert walking toward me. His face mix of concern and frustration. Must have followed me from party. "Adam," he said, stopping few feet away. You okay, man? Let out bitter laugh. Do I look okay? He sighed and ran hand through hair. Look, I get it. What happened back there? It's messed up, but you can't just go around punching people. It's not going to fix anything. I don't care, I snapped, voice sharper than intended. He deserved it. Maybe he did, Robert admitted, sitting down on bench beside me. But you're just giving Lily more ammunition. You know she's going to spin this, right? She's already telling people you've been distant, that you've been working too much, and ignoring her. Now she's got a story to back it up. Turned to him, chest tightening. What are you talking about? Robert hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. She's been talking to Hannah, saying that you've been checked out of the marriage for months, that you've been paranoid and controlling. Stuff like that. Clenched my fists, anger flaring up again. So now it's my fault? She cheats on me, and I'm the bad guy? She's trying to save herself, Robert said quietly. You know how she is. She's not going to admit she screwed up. She's going to twist the story, so people feel sorry for her. Leaned forward, buried face in hands. Wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain she'd inflicted on me. But Robert was right. Lashing out would only make things worse. Why are you telling me this? I asked, voice muffled through my hands. Because you're my friend, Robert said firmly. And I don't want to see you get crushed by this. You need to be smart, Adam. You need to think about your next move. Looked up at him, eyes stinging with unshed tears. I don't even know where to start. Start by keeping your cool, he said. Don't let her bait you into doing something stupid. And if you need to fight back, do it with the truth. Nodded slowly, weight of his words sinking in. The truth, that was all I had left. Robert stood up, clapped hand on my shoulder. Go home, get some sleep. You're going to need it. Walked away, leaving me alone on bench. Stayed there for a while, staring at empty playground, listening to distant hum of traffic. The truth. It sounded so simple, but knew it wouldn't be enough on its own. Lily wasn't just lying. She was manipulating, weaving narrative to protect herself, and destroy me in the process. By the time I got home, house was dark. Let myself in quietly, half hoping Lily was already asleep. But as soon as stepped into living room, she was there, sitting on couch, arms crossed. We need to talk, she said, voice cold and even. Stopped in doorway, glaring at her. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is, she said, standing up, taking step toward me. You embarrassed me tonight, Adam, in front of all our friends. Do you have any idea how hard it's going to be to fix this? Laughed, sound bitter and hollow. Fix this? Are you serious right now? You're worried about your image. After what you did? Her expression hardened. I told you, it's not what it looked like. Oh, really? I said, voice rising. Then what the hell was it, Lily? Enlighten me. She hesitated, eyes darting away for a moment. I was drunk. Andrew came on to me. I didn't know what I was doing. Don't, I said, stepping closer. Don't insult my intelligence. With that crap, I saw you. You weren't drunk, and you weren't fighting him off. You were enjoying it. Her face flushed, but it wasn't with shame. It was anger. You've been distant for months, Adam. You bury yourself in work and ignore me, and then you act surprised. When I feel neglected, my jaw tightened, fought to keep voice steady. You're really going to blame me for this? For your choices? I made a mistake, she said, folding her arms. But you're not innocent in this either. Stared at her. The woman I had loved for 10 years. Felt nothing but disgust. I'm done, I said finally. You want to play the victim? Fine. But I'm not playing along. Turned and walked away, her voice following me down hall. Don't walk away from me, Adam. We're not done. But we were, for me. This was only beginning of the end. Next morning I woke up, with clarity I hadn't felt in days, lying in guest room, where I had slept night before, stared at ceiling. Let anger fuel me. Lily thought she had upper hand, twisting the story, spinning lies to our friends, painting herself as victim. But she had underestimated me. This wasn't just about proving her wrong anymore. This was about making her remember the day she decided to betray me. Pulled myself out of bed, grabbed laptop, set it on desk by window. First thing I did, compiled every scrap of evidence against her. The texts, the screenshots, conversations she didn't think I'd seen. Started with message logs from shared phone plan. Found dozens of late-night calls and texts to Andrew. Over past few months, downloaded history, saved it in secure folder. Then went digging through her social media. Lily was meticulous about her online presence, but knew her well enough to find cracks in her perfection. A photo here, a comment there, all seemingly innocent. Until you looked closer, there were posts about wine nights with the girls. That matched suspiciously with times I knew Andrew had been at parties she attended. Without me, saved everything, piecing together digital timeline of her deceit. But that wasn't brilliant part of plan. That was just preparation. Real revenge needed to be unforgettable. Thought about her greatest weakness, her obsession with appearances. Lily thrived on being admired, being envied, being center of attention, lived for compliments, the validation, the image of perfection. She projected to world, if wanted to hit her where it hurt, needed to take that from her. Idea came like spark igniting dry tinder. Open blank document. Began drafting letter. An open letter, addressed to everyone who mattered to her. Friends, family, colleagues, would lay everything bare. The affair? Her lies, her attempts to shift blame onto me. But wouldn't just be a rant, it would be calm, calculated, and devastatingly honest. Outlined all the facts, how I'd caught her with Andrew. At the party, how she tried to manipulate me into staying quiet, how she painted me as bad guy to cover her tracks. Letter wouldn't just be about facts, though. Would include details that exposed her for who she truly was. Selfish, manipulative, entirely fake. Would highlight betrayal, not just of me, but of friends and family she claimed to care about. Goal wasn't just to reveal truth, was to dismantle image she built. Piece by piece, with foundation of plan in place, started thinking about delivery. Simply sending letter wouldn't be enough. Needed to be public, dramatic, impossible for her to ignore. That's when second part clicked into place. Robert's next party, Robert being social butterfly he was, had already announced follow-up event. For next weekend, a barbecue. For same group of friends who'd been at infamous party. Lily would be there. Of course, continuing her damage control, weaving her web of lies. And that's when I would strike. Reached out to Robert later that day. Hey, I said, keeping voice casual. You still need help setting up? For the barbecue? Always, he replied. You good though? After last night? Forced to chuckle. Been better, but I'm working through it. Just need something to focus on. You know? Yeah, man, come by early. Help set up. Think everyone's feeling a little awkward. After last night. But maybe this will smooth things over. Smooth things over. If only Robert knew how much rougher it was about to get. Week leading up to barbecue was blur of careful planning and quiet anticipation. Fine-tuned the letter. Rehearsed what I would say. When time came, gathered final pieces of evidence to back up every claim I planned to make. By time Saturday rolled around, felt like soldier preparing for battle. Arrived at Robert's house early. Just as promised, Lily wasn't there yet. Gave me time to move unnoticed. While helping Robert set up tables and chairs, quietly slipped USB drive into his computer. Containing video presentation I prepared was slideshow of all evidence, synced with text of open letter, complete with timestamps and screenshots. Queued it up to play. On TV and living room, where everyone would eventually gather. By time Lily arrived, house was buzzing with laughter and conversation. She walked in wearing flowy sundress, her smile as radiant as ever. To anyone else, she looked picture of charm and grace. But when her eyes met mine, saw a flash of nervousness, she tried to hide. Adam, she said, approaching with practiced warmth. Can we talk? Of course, I said, matching her tone. After dinner, her smile faltered for just a moment, but quickly recovered, nodding as if she was in control. She had no idea what was coming. When moment finally arrived, stood in center of living room, holding drink, tapping side of glass with spoon, to get everyone's attention. Excuse me, everyone, I said, voice calm but firm. I'd like to say few words. Lily was across room, her smile frozen in place. As she watched me, raised glass and mock toast. To the truth, I said, then grabbed remote and pressed play. TV screen lit up. My presentation began. Lily's text to Andrew appeared, followed by photos, timestamps, and quotes. Gasps echoed through room. As narrative unfolded, Lily's face drained of color, her composure cracking. With every slide, by time it was over, room was thick with tension. All eyes were on Lily, who stood frozen in place, her mouth opening and closing, like fish gasping for air. Any questions? I asked. Voice icy. Lily's response would come. But in that moment, I had already won. Room erupted into chaos. As video ended, conversations broke out in hushed murmurs, punctuated by gasps and stolen glances in Lily's direction. She stood rooted to spot, face pale, lips trembling, trying desperately to summon words that would salvage her carefully constructed facade. Set remote down on table. Crossed my arms. Let silence between us stretch. Like tight rope. Well, Lily, I said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut through noise. Care to explain? All eyes were on her now, crowd buzzing with curiosity. Shock and disbelief. Hannah, who had been standing near kitchen, stepped forward cautiously. "Lily, is this true?" she asked, tone laced with disbelief. Lily turned to her, voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, desperation evident. "Adam's twisting things. He's only showing you what he wants you to see," laughed. Bitter, humorless sound. That cut through tension like knife. "Twisting things?" I repeated. "Really? The texts? The timestamps? The calls to Andrew? In middle of night? That's me twisting things." Lily's mask of composure cracked further. Her voice turned sharp. "You don't understand," she snapped. "You've been distant for months. You buried yourself in work and ignored me. And I felt alone." "Alone?" I shot back, voice rising. "So your solution was to crawl into Andrew's arms. Spare me the sob story, Lily. You didn't feel alone when you were lying to my face or when you were throwing me under bus." To our friends, crowd shifted uncomfortably, torn between disbelief and awkward sympathy. Robert stepped forward, his expression mix of anger and disappointment. "Lily," he said quietly, "is there any part of this that isn't true?" Lily turned to him, tears welling up in eyes. "Robert, She stopped, unable to finish sentence, voice breaking, as her carefully constructed narrative crumbled around her. "She won't admit it," I said, stepping forward, tone icy, "because that would mean taking responsibility. And Lily doesn't do that. She blames me. She blames everyone. But herself." Hannah, who had been silent until now, spoke up, her voice trembling, with barely contained anger. "You told me he was controlling, Lily," she said, voice growing louder. "You told me he was paranoid and insecure. And all this time, you were lying." "I wasn't lying," Lily shot back, voice cracking. I didn't know what to do. Adam has been impossible to talk to." Cut her off, voice cold and firm. "Don't, just don't. Everyone here has seen the truth. There's no spinning this anymore." Crowd murmured louder now. Weight of evidence, turning public opinion against Lily. She looked around desperately, gaze darting from one shocked face to another, searching for ally, but there were none. Her friends, the ones she had manipulated with lies, stared back at her, with expressions of betrayal and disbelief. And then Andrew walked in, must have arrived late, oblivious to storm he was walking into. He froze when saw room's charged atmosphere, and way everyone's eyes turned to him. What's going on?" he asked, voice tinged with nervousness. Turned to him, lips curling into bitter smile. "Perfect timing," I said. "Why don't you tell everyone? Why you think I'm a pushover?" Andrew's face paled. As recognition dawned, his gaze flicked to Lily, whose expression was mix of horror and fury. "Don't say a word," she hissed, under her breath. "Too late," I said, stepping toward him. "Everyone already knows," Andrew stammered, his usual bravado nowhere to be found. "Look, man, I didn't mean—" "Save it," I interrupted, voice low and dangerous. "You're just as guilty as she is, and now everyone knows exactly what kind of people you both are." Crowd, emboldened by confrontation, began to murmur louder, their judgment unmistakable. Andrew glanced at Lily, clearly looking for exit. I should go," he mumbled, turning toward door. "Smart choice," I said, tone dripping with disdain. As he left, Lily turned back to me, her tears spilling over now. "Adam, please," she said, voice trembling. "Don't do this. Don't ruin everything we've built." "You already ruined it, Lily," I said, voice quiet but resolute. "This is just me, setting records straight." Robert stepped forward, placing hand on my shoulder. "Adam, maybe we should wrap this up," he said gently. "I think everyone's seen enough." Nodded, feeling weight of exhaustion settle over me. "Yeah, I'm done." Turned back to Lily one last time. "You wanted a war, Lily? Well, here it is." "And you've lost." Without waiting for her response, turned and walked outdoor. Sound of murmurs and whispers followed me, but I didn't look back. Didn't need to. As stepped into cool night air, strange sense of peace washed over me. Lily's lies had been exposed, her mask shattered. She would remember this day for rest of her life, and so would everyone else. Drive home was surreal. Adrenaline that had fueled me, through confrontation, drained away, leaving behind strange, hollow calm. Phone buzzed constantly in pocket, but ignored it. Knew it would be Lily, Robert, or someone from party, trying to process what they'd witnessed. Wasn't ready to deal with any of them. Not yet. When got home, silence was deafening. Guest room where I'd been sleeping. Felt smaller, colder. But it was mine. For first time in weeks, felt like I'd taken control of my life again. Lily's lies, her manipulations, her twisted attempts to paint me as villain. It was all out and open now, and there was no coming back from it. Next morning, the fallout began. My phone was flooded with texts and missed calls. Some were supportive. Adam, I'm so sorry you went through that. If you need anything, let me know. Hannah, man, that was brutal. But you did what you had to do. Stay strong. Robert, others were less kind. Did you really have to humiliate her like that? Couldn't this have been handled privately? A mutual friend, Karen, ignored most of them, focusing instead on next steps. Truth was out, but this wasn't over. Lily wasn't type to admit defeat. She'd regroup, try to salvage what little reputation she had left, and come back swinging. I needed to be ready. Opened laptop, pulled up email from Kate. My divorce lawyer, she'd been clear about what needed to happen next. Secure my assets, document everything, make sure there were no loose ends Lily could exploit. It wasn't just about protecting myself anymore. It was about making sure she couldn't hurt me again. That afternoon, Lily showed up at house, heard sound of her car, pulling into driveway, followed by sharp click of her heels on pavement. She didn't knock, used her key, letting herself in like nothing had changed. I was in kitchen, finishing cup of coffee, when she walked in. Adam, she said, voice shaky but determined. We need to talk. Set my mug down, crossed my arms. I think everything that needed to be said was said last night. Her face twisted, mix of anger and desperation. You humiliated me, Adam, in front of everyone. How could you do that? How could I do that? I echoed, voice cold. How could you betray me? Lie to me, and then try to turn our friends against me? You don't get to play victim, Lily. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. You don't understand, she said, voice rising. You've always been so distant, so focused on your work. I needed someone to be there for me. And Andrew, stop, I interrupted, voice sharp. Don't you dare try to justify this. You didn't need someone. You wanted an excuse, and now you're dealing with consequences. She flinched, but quickly recovered, her expression hardening. Fine, if you want to end things, then let's end them. But don't think for a second that I'm going to walk away empty-handed. Stared at her, my jaw tightening. Are you threatening me? She shrugged, her tone turning icy. I'm just saying, Adam, you made this public. You embarrassed me, and now you've backed me into corner. Don't think I won't fight back. Took step closer, meeting her glare head on. Go ahead, fight back. But you've already lost, Lily. Everyone knows who you really are now. The lies, the manipulation, it's all out there. You can't spin this anymore. Her lips pressed into thin line. For a moment looked like she might lash out, but instead turned on her heel. Walked toward door. You'll regret this, she said. Over her shoulder, voice low and venomous. I promise you, Adam, you'll regret this. Door slammed behind her. Left alone in silence again. That evening I called Kate, filled her in on what had happened. At party and Lily's veiled threats, she listened patiently, her tone calm and professional. Adam, it sounds like she's trying to scare you, Kate said. But you've done everything right so far. You've documented the evidence, and you've exposed her lies. Now we need to focus on the divorce proceedings. The sooner we can finalize things, the better. What about her threats? I asked. She said she'd make me regret this. Kate hesitated. It's not uncommon for people in her position to lash out. She's desperate, but we prepare for anything she might try. Just make sure you don't engage with her. Outside of necessary communication, let me handle the rest. Hung up feeling mix of relief and unease. Lily had already shown how far she was willing to go to protect herself. I couldn't afford to underestimate her, but for first time, felt like I had upper hand. That night, sat down with notebook, started writing out everything Lily had ever said or done that could be used against her in court. Every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal. The more I wrote, the more I realized just how much I had overlooked. During our marriage, Lily hadn't just betrayed me once. She had been chipping away at my trust for years. By time I finished, weight on my chest felt lighter. I had planned a way forward. Lily could threaten, manipulate, and lie all she wanted. But truth was on my side, and no matter what she did next, I was ready. Next morning, I woke up to chaos. Phone buzzed incessantly, with notifications, texts, emails, even voicemails, from mutual friends and acquaintances. At first, ignored them, assuming they were fallout from barbecue, but something felt off. Sheer volume was too much, too sudden. Finally, curiosity won out. Opened phone to check messages. First one was from Robert. Adam, man, you need to call me. Something's going on. Lily's saying some crazy stuff about you. Next was from Hannah. Adam, is everything okay? Lily's been posting things online. Doesn't sound like you at all, but you should know. My stomach churned. As I opened Facebook, sure enough, Lily had gone nuclear. She had written long emotional post. That painted me as unhinged. An abusive husband. Story she told was shocking and entirely fabricated, according to Lily. I'd been controlling for years, monitoring her phone, isolating her from friends, even threatening her. When she tried to leave, she claimed incident at party was my way of punishing her for daring to speak out about our toxic marriage. Comment section was flooded with reactions, some offering support, others questioning her story, but damage was clear. Lily was playing victim, and she was doing it convincingly. Scrolled further down her page, found more posts, screenshots of supposed texts from me that were aggressive and borderline threatening. They were fakes, of course, but anyone who didn't know me might believe them. Blood boiled as I read. Captions she'd added. This is what I've been dealing with for years. Please, if you're in a situation like this, know that you're not alone. She was framing me as monster. And worse, some people were buying it. Slammed phone down on table, hands shaking. Anger I felt was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. She wasn't just trying to save face anymore. She was trying to destroy me. This wasn't about our marriage, or even affair. It was calculated, ruthless attack on my character. But I wasn't going to let her win. Called Kate immediately. She answered on second ring. Adam, I've already seen it, she said, her tone calm but firm. We need to act quickly. She's lying, Kate, I said. Pacing living room. She's fabricating evidence, and now people think I'm some kind of monster. I know, Kate replied, and we're going to handle it. But first, I need you to stay calm. Don't respond to her posts. Don't engage with anyone online, and don't confront her directly. We need to approach this methodically. What do we do? I asked, voice tight. We counter her lies with evidence, Kate said. You've already compiled a lot of proof. Screenshots, texts, audio recordings. We're going to build case that shows not only her infidelity, but her pattern of manipulation and deceit. Once we have everything, we'll go public with it. And the fake texts? I asked. She's showing people things I never said. How do I fight that? Kate paused. I'll bring in digital forensics expert. They'll analyze supposed messages and prove they were fabricated. But Adam, this is going to take time. You need to stay patient and trust the process. Process? After hanging up, forced myself to sit down and think. Kate was right. I couldn't let Lily bait me into making a mistake, but also couldn't sit idly by while she spread lies about me. Needed to get ahead of her, to turn tide of public opinion before she could do more damage. Opened laptop, started drafting statement. Wasn't as dramatic as Lily's post, but it didn't need to be, just needed to be honest. Kept it short and direct. I'm aware of allegations Lily has made against me, and I want to address them. These claims are entirely false. I've never been abusive, controlling or threatening, and I have evidence to prove it. I've already taken legal action to protect myself and my reputation. To those who have supported me during this difficult time, thank you. The truth will come out. Posted it to my social media accounts. Careful not to tag Lily or escalate situation further. Almost immediately, messages of support began pouring in from people who knew me well enough to see through her lies, but there were also skeptics, people who had been swayed by Lily's emotional posts. That evening, received text from Hannah. Adam, I know Lily's lying. I've been thinking about what happened at party, and I want to help. Call me. Didn't hesitate. Hannah picked up on first ring, her voice hesitant but determined. Adam, I feel awful about everything. I didn't want to believe Lily, but after seeing your evidence, I can't stay quiet anymore. What do you mean? I asked, gripping phone tightly. She's been telling people that you've been abusive, Hannah said, voice shaking with anger. But I know it's not true. She's using me and Robert to spread her lies, and I can't be part of it. Can you testify to that? I asked cautiously. If this goes to court, would you be willing to speak out? Hannah hesitated, but only for a moment. Yes, she said firmly. Whatever you need, I'm not going to let her destroy you. With Hannah's support and Kate's guidance, felt renewed sense of purpose. Lily had escalated fight, but she'd also overplayed her hand by fabricating evidence and dragging others into her lies. She'd left trail of inconsistencies that could be exposed. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about survival, and I wasn't going to let her take me down without fight. Days that followed felt like chess match. Every move Lily made was calculated, but now I had my own strategy in play. Wasn't just defending myself anymore. Was building case that would expose her for manipulative liar she was, and I wasn't doing it alone. Hannah had been game changer. She wasn't just friend to both of us. She was witness to Lily's lies, someone who had seen firsthand how Lily twisted narrative to suit her agenda. Her willingness to speak out was lifeline, and I planned to use it. Spent next few days quietly reaching out to other mutual friends, people who might have seen something or overheard Lily. In her weaker moments, some were hesitant to get involved, but others came forward with stories that mirrored Hannah's. One particularly damning piece came from Melanie, another friend who'd been at barbecue. She called me one evening, her voice cautious but steady. "Adam, I don't know if this will help, but I overheard Lily talking to Andrew at party." This was before everything went down. She was telling him not to worry, that she'd handle you. If things got messy, sat up straighter, anger bubbling just below surface. She said that. Yes, Melanie confirmed. I didn't think much of it at time, but now it feels like she was planning this all along. "Would you be willing to put that in writing?" I asked. Voice steady despite storm inside me. Melanie hesitated, but eventually agreed. "I'll send you email tonight. I hate that it's come to this." With Hannah, Melanie, and others starting to rally behind me, felt momentum shifting in my favor. Lily's web of lies was beginning to unravel, and I was determined to pull every loose thread. But it wasn't just about gathering allies. I also needed to prove Lily's fabrications for what they were. That's where Kate's forensics expert came in. Week after Lily's social media blitz, received call from Kate. "Adam, we've got something," she said, her voice carrying note of triumph. The text Lily posted as evidence. "They're doctored." My heart raced. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," Kate said. "Our expert analyzed metadata and found inconsistencies. Timestamps don't match, and there's evidence messages were pieced together from different conversations. This is clear manipulation." Relief and anger warred within me. On one hand, finally had proof. Lily was fabricating evidence. On other, lengths she had gone to were staggering. This wasn't just messy divorce. It was character assassination. "What do we do with this?" I asked. "We're going to include it in your legal filings," Kate said. "But we also need to control narrative. I'd suggest sharing this with someone neutral, someone respected by your mutual friends. If they vouch for you, it'll carry more weight." Obvious choice was Robert. He was well-liked, respected, had been trying to stay neutral throughout ordeal. If I could get him on my side, it would be major blow to Lily's credibility. Called him that evening. Asked if we could meet. He agreed, though could sense his hesitation. When we sat down at coffee shop next morning, I didn't waste any time. "Robert, I need your help," I said. Sliding folder across table. Inside were copies of doctored texts, alongside forensic analysis that proved they were fake. Robert flipped through pages, his expression darkening. With every word, "This is insane," he muttered. I knew Lily was twisting things, but it's more than twisting, I said. "She's trying to destroy me, Robert, and I need people to see truth." He looked up, his jaw tight. "What do you want me to do?" "Speak out," I said simply. "You've seen both sides of this. If you tell people what's really going on, they'll listen." Robert hesitated, clearly torn, finally sighed and nodded. "All right, I'll back you up." "But Adam, this is going to get messy." "It already is," I said. "I just need to end it." Robert's support was turning point. He posted carefully worded statement online, refuting Lily's claims and vouching for my character. He didn't attack her directly, but his words carried weight. "I've known Adam and Lily for years, and what's happening between them is complicated and painful. But I've seen evidence Adam has, and I can say with certainty, he's not person Lily is making him out to be. I hope everyone can take a step back and wait for full truth to come out." Reaction was immediate. Comments flooded in, questioning Lily's story, expressing support for me. Mutual friends who had been distant began reaching out, offering apologies and asking how they could help. Lily predictably lashed out. She posted scathing response, accusing Robert of taking sides and trying to discredit her. But her words rang hollow now, her credibility eroding. With every new piece of evidence that came to light, that night Hannah called me again. "Adam, Lily's spiraling," she said. "She's been messaging people all day, trying to rally support, but it's not working. People are starting to see through her. She did this to herself," I said. "I'm just making sure truth comes out." Hannah paused, then added, "There's one more thing. Lily's been talking about filing restraining order against you. She thinks it'll make her look like victim again." Anger I'd been holding back surged to surface. "Restraining order based on what?" "Nothing," Hannah said. "But you need to be ready." As I hung up, realized this wasn't just about exposing Lily's lies anymore. It was about making sure she couldn't hurt me or anyone else again. And with evidence I had and allies I'd gathered, I was ready for whatever she threw at me. Few days later, just as Hannah had warned, Received knock on door. Process server handed me envelope. Left without word. Inside was restraining order. Lily had filed against me. My jaw tightened as I skimmed through it. She was claiming that I had threatened her, harassed her, and was stalking her since party. It was all lies, of course, but knew this wasn't just about legal protections. This was about optics. Lily wanted to paint herself as victim again, and this was her latest gambit. Immediately called Kate. She filed it, I said, voice taut with frustration. She's claiming I'm stalking her. Kate sighed. Her calm professionalism. Stark contrast to my anger. We knew this was coming, Adam. She's trying to create narrative, but she's overreaching. With evidence we have, we can challenge this. What's next step? I asked. We'll contest restraining order in court, Kate replied. I'll file response citing her fabricated evidence and pattern of manipulation we've documented. We'll also present forensic analysis of fake texts. Judge will see through this. But what about damage in meantime? I asked. This restraining order is going to make me look guilty. That's why we need to act quickly, Kate said. We'll get hearings scheduled as soon as possible. In meantime, don't contact Lily under any circumstances. Let me handle it. That night couldn't sleep. Restraining order wasn't just legal issue. It was personal attack, calculated attempt to strip me of dignity and paint me as villain. But Lily had underestimated me again. She thought this would be final blow. But instead, it was another opportunity to expose her lies. Next morning, sat down with laptop, started organizing everything I needed for court. The text, the audio recordings, the testimonies from Hannah and Melanie. It was there, neatly compiled into folder labeled Truth. This wasn't just about defending myself anymore. This was about showing court and everyone else exactly who Lily was. Court hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. During that time, kept my head down, focused on building my case. Kate had arranged for forensic expert to testify about fabricated texts, and Hannah and Melanie had both agreed to appear as witnesses. Robert, too, offered his support, ready to provide character testimony if needed. Lily, meanwhile, doubled down on her narrative. Her social media posts became more frequent, more dramatic, each one painting me as controlling, dangerous ex-husband who couldn't accept end of our marriage. But cracks in her story were becoming more apparent. Mutual friends began commenting on her posts, asking questions, expressing doubt. The tide was slowly turning. Day of hearing arrived. Walked into courtroom. With Kate by my side, Lily was already there, sitting with her lawyer, her expression mix of defiance and nervousness. She glanced at me briefly, before looking away, her jaw tight. Hearing began with Lily's lawyer, presenting her side. He read aloud her affidavit, which was filled with exaggerated claims and outright lies. According to her, I had been following her, sending threatening messages, and even showing up uninvited at places she frequented. When it was my turn, Kate calmly dismantled their argument. Piece by piece, she started with forensic analysis, presenting evidence that supposed threatening texts were doctored. Forensic expert explained inconsistencies in detail, pointing out altered timestamps and mismatched metadata. Then Hannah took stand. She testified about Lily's pattern of manipulation, recounting how Lily had tried to use her to spread lies about me. Melanie followed, sharing what she had overheard at party and how Lily had been scheming to handle me if things went wrong. Finally, Kate played audio recording of Andrew, where he admitted that Lily had coached him on how to cover up their affair. Courtroom was silent as his smug voice echoed through room. When Judge finally spoke, his tone was measured but firm. Mrs. Bennett, he said, addressing Lily, evidence presented here today strongly contradicts your claims. It appears that not only were your allegations against Mr. Bennett unfounded, but you have also engaged in deliberate effort to fabricate evidence and mislead this court. Lily's face went pale, her lawyer whispering furiously. In her ear, Judge continued, the restraining order is denied, and I am referring this matter to District Attorney's Office for review. Fabricating evidence is serious offense, and this court will not tolerate such behavior. As I walked out of courtroom, weight I'd been carrying for weeks began to lift. Kate patted my shoulder, her smile small but triumphant. You did it, she said. She's exposed, but knew this wasn't just victory for me. It was lesson for Lily. She had spent so much time crafting lies, manipulating people, and trying to control narrative. But in end, truth had won, and she would remember this defeat for rest of her life. After court hearing was like dam had broken. Lily's lies and manipulations had been exposed in a way that even she couldn't spin. Word spread quickly among our mutual friends and acquaintances. and narrative she had worked so hard to construct began to collapse. First domino to fall was Andrew, with Judge openly questioning Lily's credibility and threat of criminal investigation for fabricating evidence looming over her. Andrew must have realized he was in over his head. Few days after hearing, he sent me message. Adam, I'm sorry for everything that happened. I didn't want to get involved in all this, and I'm willing to make things right. Let me know how I can help. Audacity of message almost made me laugh. Andrew wasn't apologizing out of remorse. He was trying to save himself, but I wasn't about to let him off hook so easily. If he wanted to clear his name, he'd have to do it publicly. Forwarded his message to Kate, who wasted no time drafting statement for him to sign. It was short and to point, but did exactly what I needed it to do. Acknowledge his affair with Lily, confirm her role in fabricating evidence, and take responsibility for his part in whole mess. Andrew balked at first, claiming it was too harsh, but Kate's response was swift. Either you sign this, or we subpoena you to testify. Your choice. He signed. With Andrew's statement in hand, I had final piece of puzzle. Kate and I worked together to draft formal update for social media, one that not only refuted Lily's lies, but also revealed full extent of her betrayal and manipulation. Post went live that evening. It included Andrew's statement, the forensic evidence, disproving fake texts, and brief explanation of court's ruling. I didn't embellish or attack Lily outright. I didn't need to. Facts spoke for themselves. Reaction was overwhelming. Messages of support flooded in from friends, family, and even acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. People who had initially sided with Lily reached out to apologize, their disbelief at her actions evident in every word. Adam, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to believe at first, but now I can't believe she would do this to you. Wow, I had no idea it was this bad. You've been through so much. Stay strong. I was wrong to doubt you. If there's anything I can do, let me know. But it wasn't just support that mattered. It was silence from Lily's camp. Her staunchest defenders were conspicuously quiet, and those who had been neutral were starting to distance themselves from her. The tide had turned, and Lily was left floundering. Week later, Hannah called me. Adam, you're not going to believe this, she said, barely able to contain her excitement. What's going on? I asked. Lily's moving out, Hannah said. She told Robert she needs fresh start and doesn't want to stay in area anymore. Leaned back in chair, mix of relief and satisfaction washing over me. She's running, I said. She can't face consequences, so she's running. Looks like it, Hannah replied. But honestly, it's for best. No one here believes her anymore. She's lost everything. As much as I wanted to relish her downfall, I knew I had to focus on moving forward. Lily's lies had taken so much from me. My peace, my reputation, my trust, but they hadn't destroyed me. I was still standing, and I was determined to rebuild my life on my terms. Over the next few weeks, worked with Kate to finalize divorce. With evidence we had, Lily had no leverage to demand anything beyond fair division of assets. Settlement was straightforward, and divorce was finalized faster than I expected. When papers arrived in mail, felt unexpected wave of emotion. Relief, yes, but also sadness. Not for Lily or what we had lost, but for person I had been, the man who had trusted her, loved her, and believed in future that would never come to pass. But that chapter of my life was over, and for first time in long time, I felt free. In weeks after divorce was finalized, my life slowly began to settle into new rhythm. Chaos that Lily had brought into my world started to dissipate, leaving behind strange kind of quiet. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was first step toward it. I spent my days focusing on rebuilding parts of my life that had been neglected. During turmoil, work had always been refuge for me, and I threw myself into it. With renewed determination, my colleagues, who had watched from sidelines as my personal life unraveled, offered their support in small but meaningful ways. Kind word here, thoughtful gesture there, reminded me that not everyone had turned their back on me. I also began reconnecting with old friends, people I had distanced myself from. During my marriage, many of them had seen through Lily. Long before I had, their honesty, though painful at times, was comfort. They didn't sugarcoat their opinions, and I didn't want them to. I needed truth now more than ever. Evenings were hardest, sitting alone in house that Lily and I had once shared. The silence was oppressive. I'd find myself replaying old conversations, questioning how I had missed signs, how I had allowed myself to be blindsided. But each time those thoughts crept in, I reminded myself of one simple truth. Her betrayal wasn't my failure, it was hers. One night, Hannah stopped by with bottle of wine and warm smile. You looked like you could use some company, she said. Setting bottle on counter, chuckled. Sounds still foreign in my own ears. You're not wrong. We spent evening talking, not about Lily or past, but about future. Hannah's kindness was balm. For wounds I was still nursing, she reminded me that life could go on, that trust could be rebuilt. Even if it took time, as weeks turned into months, I began to rediscover parts of myself I had forgotten. Started running again, something I hadn't done since college. Physical exertion was cathartic, and steady rhythm of my feet, pounding against pavement, helped quiet noise in my mind. I also took up cooking, something Lily had always dismissed as waste of time. Started as necessity, way to avoid takeout every night, but quickly became passion. There was something deeply satisfying about creating something with my own hands, something that was entirely mine. Whispers about Lily didn't disappear entirely, but they faded. She had moved to another city, leaving behind wreckage of her reputation. Occasionally, I'd hear snippets from mutual friends, stories of her struggles to start over, her attempts to rewrite narrative, yet again, but I didn't care anymore. Her life was hers to deal with, just as mine was mine. One afternoon, Robert called me. Adam, I know we haven't talked much since everything went down, but I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you. For what? I asked, genuinely curious. For not letting her destroy you, he said simply. A lot of people wouldn't have been able to handle what you went through, but you did, and you came out stronger. His words stayed with me. Long after we hung up, it wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, about proving to myself that I could survive and thrive without Lily. One evening, as I sat on porch, watching sunset, my phone buzzed with message from Hannah. Hey, some of us are getting together this weekend. Come join us. You need to be around people who care about you. For first time in long time, I didn't hesitate. Type back quick reply. I'll be there. It was small step, but important one. Life wasn't perfect, and it probably never would be, but it was mine again. And that was enough. Looking back now, I can see it clearly. Lily's betrayal, as painful as it was, had freed me from illusion of perfect marriage. I had been living in forced me to confront truth about who she really was and who I could become without her shadow looming over me. The scars are still there. They probably always will be, but they've healed into something different. Reminders not of what I lost, but of what I survived and what I gained. In process, I'm different now, stronger, more cautious perhaps, but also more aware of my own worth, of what I deserve, and what I won't tolerate in my life anymore. Sometimes people ask me if I regret exposing Lily the way I did, if there was a gentler way to handle things, but I know truth. She chose her path of lies and manipulation, and I chose mine of brutal honesty and hard-won freedom. In end, that's what matters most. Not revenge, not vindication, but freedom to live honestly, to trust again and to build something new from ashes of what was lost.